There are several good positive developments in the global economy. First of all, there's a pickup of economic growth. Secondly, inflation is remaining low in advanced economies. Three, because of low inflation, central banks are still following relatively expansionary monetary policy. And that combination of strong growth, low inflation, and easy money implies that the risk is on rather than off. Investors are optimistic, and risky assets are going higher, US and global equity. And finally, among the many regions of the world, there is now greater optimism about Europe and the Eurozone that has been the one that has been beset by financial crisis. For the first time in a long period of time, people are actually more optimistic about Europe than the United States. There are several threats and risk tails in the global economy. The first and the most important one, in my view, is the one deriving by the erratic policies of the US Trump administration. Fiscal policy, protectionism, restrictions of migration, the risk of economic nationalism and going unilateralist, and potentially even military conflict, North Korea, Iran, and so on. The second challenge comes from China. China is having its party congress. It has to reform, restructure, reduce leverage and overcapacity, but so far has been kicking the can down the road. The question mark is going to be whether after the party congress they're going to do more economic reform to avoid a hard landing. Third, I think that the problems of the Eurozone are not yet resolved. There are still political uncertainties in Italy, in Spain, results recently of the elections in Germany and Austria. But more fundamentally, the Eurozone needs an economic union, a financial union, a fiscal union, a banking union, and eventually a political union. Otherwise, it's going to become an incomplete and unstable monetary union. And finally, there are a number of elements of financial frothiness, asset and credit bubbles that are starting to make financial market risky around the world at a time where there are also significant rising geopolitical risks, including this populist backlash against globalization. But markets, for some reason, seem to be dismissing these political and geopolitical risks. They might be wrong over time. Technological innovation can be both a positive and a negative over the medium-long term. The positive side of it is robotic automation, and this innovation is going to increase massively productivity over time and the economic pie. The problem derives from the fact that this technological innovation is capital intensive, skill buys and labor saving. So low-skilled labor is going to be losing jobs and income, while skilled labor and owners of capital are going to be doing well. Therefore, there has to be a way of addressing this rising inequality. The solution is, number one, providing education, skills, human capital, and retraining to those that are disadvantaged. Second one, providing a wide social safety net with education, healthcare, and other benefits being free. And if all else fails, and some people, because of bad luck, are losers, then maybe universal basic income might be also a solution over the long term. Migration is going to have two separate trends. On one side, the fact that there is failed states, global climate change, and other economic disruption implies that more people would want to leave their countries and homes, especially when there are severe economic and social and political problems, and try to migrate to advanced economies. However, on the political side, there is now a backlash against migration. You saw it in the United States with Trump, you saw it with Brexit, but even in Europe and Eurozone right now, there are people are rethinking whether to allow free mobility of labor within Europe, let alone letting people from outside of Europe entering Europe. So I would say that there is more need for migration to try to provide economic opportunity, but politically, actually, migration is becoming a political hotspot, and more countries are going to restrict inward migration because it leads to economic and social and political tensions of one sort or another.